You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Ding dong. Hello?
Everybody three, count 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I didn't get here because I was cute, or because I came from some famous wrestling family, or because I sucked up to the right people. I got here because I am good. I earned this championship.
Frustrated into the goddamn word for it. This is bullshit.
Bret made a very, very selfish decision. Bret's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. Bret screwed Bret. I have no sympathy whatsoever for Bret.
This is my show, and I'm sick of all of you calling me the coward. You're the cowards. I'm the one here day in and day out in that wrestling ring beating people up. Thank you very much.
I don't steal opportunities. I am the opportunity.
3 ain't enough now. I need 5. Welcome in, Jim.
I'm an idiot.
Ryan.
I'm a sausage guy.
Matt.
Who gives a shit?
Tim.
Right on the cock.
And intern Mark.
Hi, boys.
I'm going to tell y'all with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
Good evening, everyone. It is a Sunday night, not a Thursday night. Do not adjust your devices. Do not adjust your screens. Yes, we are indeed live. It has been a long time since we have kind of strayed from our normal week, done a live show on a Sunday, on a weekend. But I think the events of the last couple of days with the wrestling world kind of necessitated it. A lot of people have kind of been doing the same thing, so we figured we would let the dust settle a little bit. We thought maybe there would be more news yesterday. There wasn't, thankfully. So we wanted to jump on tonight. Of course, August the 8th. It is Jim. It is Ryan. It is cousin It, also known as Tim. But if you are with us, we appreciate you joining us here on a Sunday night. Give us a like and a share. We would appreciate that.
I'm in the I'm in the fan protection program.
That's
I'd appreciate I'd appreciate it if you didn't use my real name. Oh shit!
Sorry.
Shit, hold on.
What would you? There you go. What would you?
I would appreciate it if you didn't use my real name.
What would you? How would you like to be referred to as, sir?
I don't fucking know anymore, man. Like, I'm distraught.
Cousin Brian, I heard the WWE Universe has been released,
And that's why I'm distraught, because I got they FedExed me. I got it today. I got it this morning.
You got a FedEx?
Yeah, they fired my ass.
Oh man, that's not surprising. Nonetheless, maybe Fish, maybe Easy E's back working in Stanford again.
Fired.
But to the gentleman at the bottom, how we doing?
Boy, a good evening to Devin and to Charlie and to Nick.
Charlie's out delivering, getting them ducats. Nick, how's it going, buddy?
Brian saying I look like Rhino 30 seconds into every match ever, which is true.
That's fair. That's accurate.
That's fine. I just don't have thumbs for legs. That's my only. Every time I watch Rhino running down the ramp, I just think it's 2 thumbs. Just
I'm never gonna be able to unsee that.
I'm great, except for that fact that I'm working towards breaking myself of my WWE habit. How are you?
Well, Ryan, we'll go to you next.
How you doing?
Yeah, Jim, this podcast is going to suck to do.
Yeah, it really is.
Because I
It's cathartic.
Mark, no, this is not the 90 Day Fiance watch along.
And I'll be honest with you, Mark. I'll say this. I'll look directly into the camera and say this. I'll take my glasses off for emphasis.
Oh man, it's getting serious.
I wish it was. Oh, I wish this were.
Yeah, I you know what?
I would rather watch every episode of 90 Day Fiance back to back to back to back than to have to sit down with you boys and discuss the tomfoolery and the shenanigans going on in the world wrestling entertainment.
Yeah. I have never once watched an episode of the 90 Day Fiance, and I can tell you that I would rather be doing that as well. Because it's not been a good couple of days, obviously. Let's see here. Ryan, are you shirtless? We have a couple of comments here.
Oh no. No,
okay,
does it look?
You have a shirt on. It says with the glowing face and the
I don't have pants on.
Well, I mean, wait.
And I don't either.
Who podcasts with pants on?
We're a pantsless podcast,
right? Like,
I mean, I cannot tell you how I took them off to sit down and do the podcast right there in my khaki shorts that I wore all day long.
Whoa! Intern Mark is firing off some.
What's Mark's problem?
Some Hershey. So Brian says I tapped out with the 120 day.
I get that. Good for you.
Tonight is a good episode. Oh, I thought he was talking about with us and Charlie in the comments. I thought he was calling Charlie loyal listener of our program an a-hole. He was talking about the 90 Day Fiance. It's my.
I would fist. Today I'm fighting. I might fist fight Mark for Charlie's honor today. Us 757 boys got to back each other up.
There we go. All right. Yeah, been an unreal couple of days in wrestling. Again, feel free to interact with us here as we go through the show. Let's start with it. Friday night. During Friday Night SmackDown, the news began to break. I believe Fightful was the first one that was on top of this. Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, Jake Atlas, Ari Sterling, Kona Reeves, Leon Ruff, Steven Smith, Tyler Rust, Zechariah Smith, Asher Hale, Giant Zangier, Mercedes Martinez, and Desmond Troy, all given their release from the WWE. This is obviously a big clearing on the NXT side of the world. We're here far too many times, guys, and we'll start with this. There's a lot to talk about in terms of the NXT brand and where it goes from here and all of that. But like, here we are again. You know, we've talked about these releases. It feels like, I mean, first it was like quarterly. It felt like for a little while. Now it feels like it's almost weekly. And I think the number in 2021 is 51, and it's over 100 since the start of 2020. But
so here's the dates of all the cuts, and we'll start with the big list.
Okay.
The first batch. April 15th, May 19th, June 2nd, June 25th. Then Bray was on the 31st, Ric Flair was on the 3rd, and then all of these folks on the 6th. It's practically regular.
Correct.
Like,
that also really matches 2020's. I think 2020's release date was also April 15th.
Yes, It absolutely was.
Like the 15th is definitely doomsday.
119. Thank you, Nick, from the start of 2020 through this past Friday.
Yeah.
Now,
Next
does that
Thursday.
include furloughed employees? Like, I know. And did they actually bring any of them back? Is Pat Buck back with the WWE?
Did, and then they fired them again. Like, for example,
cool.
Josiah Williams.
But not all of the, like, because I think Pat Buck is still,
Pat Buck is back.
There's some producers and things that are,
like, I know what Billy Kidman was one that was released in 2010.
This is
furloughed,
right?
Finley, some of the bigger names.
Like, if the list that I saw is going around, it's talent and like known like producers and things like that, like a Pat Buck or like a Shane Helms, for example, because I think he was part of one of the lists at one time. But this isn't WWE employees. This is a like talent and stuff like that. So that is also an unfortunate list of people, but that is not included in that 119.
Great.
That doesn't make it better, actually.
No,
it doesn't.
It's the whole thing sucks. Like, I thought it was going to be easier to talk about. Full disclosure, I usually record Final Wrestling Place at around this time on the weekend, but my podcast partner's alter ego maybe had prior engagements, and today he was busy.
Perhaps.
So yesterday we recorded.
Gotcha.
And we like started the podcast off with this, and it's just I hate that this is the song that we sing like every like 45 days. Like, I just, at this rate, on my birthday we're gonna have a set of cuts. I don't want to have that.
No. Yeah, Nick here says they laid off 30% of the workforce, and that includes furloughed employees. And unfortunately, and I'm somebody that can speak from experience on this side of things, that is something, and it's not a justification. It's just a reality of the last 16 months. This is something that is happening everywhere. And,
right.
And, it's ugly and unfortunate and not good, but it is a unfortunate reality for employees of companies. So we're not talking about them like to forget about them. It's just when us as wrestling fans see wrestlers get released at this volume, at this frequency, like that's where our receptors go up a little bit more, and that's what necessitates us doing a pod like this. We rarely do these Sunday emergency pod sort of situations, but here we are. It's I tweeted Friday night when the list started coming out that like every time it happens, I don't know if it's because of my current and the last 16 months employment situation that my decade plus of therapy that I try to compartmentalize and make sense of something somehow, some way. But every single time it happens and to this volume, because if one or two people get released, you can go, well, maybe they've been asking for their release, and maybe that the WWE is at a point where they're like, if people are going to ask for their release, then we're going to give them their release. But I don't think 13 wrestlers on a Friday night asked for their release. You know what I mean? When it happens, I'm there, it's harder and harder and harder for me to even rationalize it or justify it or whatever. and it's not in like defense of WWE. Like
Harder and harder and harder for
Oops.
me
Oh.
to even like.
I was like,
Yeah, it's my bad.
I'm hearing myself an echo. But
We're
like
cool. We're live on Twitter. We're doing the Twitter thing.
we are doing live
you
on
should, you
Twitter.
should retweet this and hashtag WWE releases.
So
And you should talk about it, and you should put your comments down below, and we'll read them on the air.
That's
what should happen.
Just fuck, like what it's like, and the only, even in the slightest smallest way, is like we've been talking for years about how bloated this roster is, about like there's talent just not doing anything across the board, every show, whatever. Like it's
See,
but
that's where I'm gonna. I just want to fight you right there, Jim.
But I'm not.
It's that phrasing. It's the phrasing that the roster is bloated. That Nick Khan has carte blanche to come through here and make us do these podcasts because
Thanks, Nick.
He's counting every penny and he's seeing, what's a Jake Atlas doing for us? Let's fire him on his 5th year anniversary as a wrestler. Let's do that. To the date. Let's fire him. Like,
do you think Nick Khan knows that he was on the Undercover Boss?
No.
That was the wrestler that Stephanie McMahon.
Right.
You don't think Nick knows that at all?
No.
You both don't think that. Jim, I thought you would have slam dunked. Yeah, I thought he did that.
No. I also don't think that Nick Khan or the majority of wrestling fans would have known that was the 5th year anniversary of Jake Atlas's start of his career if he hadn't fortunately and unfortunately tweeted it that morning.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's not, I'm not trying to make light of the release, but like it.
If WWE knew as of late how to fully utilize all of their talents and not give us the same matches every week on television.
Now I have to stop you there.
In one way or another.
Sometimes it's Charlotte versus Rhea, and the other time it's Rhea versus Charlotte.
Either way,
but
like
sometimes they add a third woman into that match.
Almost.
And they shot themselves in the foot with NXT. Like, if we want to be specific with NXT, they completely bungled NXT after Survivor Series 2019. If we remember that Survivor Series, that was the WWE, the Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT pay-per-view where NXT beat Raw and SmackDown.
Yes.
And that was their opportunity to make NXT a viable third brand. Nope.
I feel like there's some truth to some of the reports where they're already looking at NXT as they lost the war. They moved to Tuesday. They're off Wednesday. AEW's pulling over $1 million. NXT is not. I don't understand. And this is like a Vince McMahon feel. I don't understand that indie style of wrestling, the small flippy-do guys. So I just want what I know and what I'm comfortable with. I want to just go back to that.
You heard the inside phraseology, right?
Yes.
What about the no midgets,
no more midgets,
no 30?
no one starting in their 30s.
Yeah.
They want people who can be box office attractions and main characters.
No one in their 30s, no midgets. Right.
I mean, and unfortunately, if you read that list, they are like indie style wrestlers that wrestle that indie style of wrestling. They are not body guys that they just released. Outside of Bronson Reed,
Kona Reeves was a bigger dude. Desmond Troy was a bigger dude.
Not Roman Reigns, John Cena, bigger dude. Bigger for NXT.
He's an average size wrestler.
I mean, Shane Strickland's lucky he's carrying a strap right now.
That doesn't mean anything.
That's fair.
He could lose the title and be fired in 2 weeks.
I mean,
He's lucky he's got a stable around him. He's
What are-
lucky they're selling merch.
they have merch to sell.
Right.
When's that last time you could buy a Jake Atlas shirt?
Besides,
Is
like,
is there one on the WWE shop?
Probably not.
probably
I'm gonna look.
part of that like grouping of the like
I know
crappy,
Bronson Reed did.
like custom WWE apparel, like
That Jordan Miles shirt.
right, like the ones that you could get printed on like black, gray, red, or blue, like that are just the worst, and they like $30 a shirt. I'm
Jake
like,
Atlas has one shirt that you can get in black or blue
right,
with his name.
right, yeah, it's those, it's like I think it was that right around that Survivor Series when like
It must have been.
All
that
NXT
when everybody's like, oh, you know, if we're gonna do this, then everybody in NXT should get merch. So they just threw like the most generic like MS Paint, like you know, graphic onto the custom WWE merchandise.
Yeah. So
and everybody could get them.
I mentioned this on Final Wrestling Place this week, but I want to bring it up here too.
Sure.
Nick Khan is a great BUISNESS man.
Yes.
He is going through with a fine-tooth comb and he is finding every bit of red on the ledger.
Sure.
Unfortunately, that makes him a horrible BIZNESS man in the world of RASSLIN.
Wrestling.
Like wrestling.
Yes.
That's fair.
He doesn't make the now, according to the reports, Vince McMahon is directly responsible for the 12 names released from NXT. The list that was dropped on the 6th was a 100% Vince McMahon call, not anyone else. And then looking at this list, I can understand a Bobby Fish.
Mm-hmm.
I could understand a Kona Reeves. However,
I can't
and I can understand Desmond Troy. I can't understand Tyler Rust, who was the future portion of the Diamond Mine. You know, that stable that just debuted.
Yep.
Asher Hale, who they spent so much money trying to get. Ari Sterling.
Right. That's about Anthony Henry. Let's use their
Yep.
indie names real quick. So
Right,
if you're not familiar, because
former
you
guest of 3 Count Thursday,
you haven't been able to see Asher Hale on a ton of NXT programs.
Look up.
He was literally just signed this year, right? Like he was just
months ago.
Right. It was. I mean, we're only in month 8. Like this year is just months ago.
Right.
But
like it just now I'll go back and what's the inside quote that they're talking about with NXT now? Not in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
No more midgets.
No more midgets.
And then go back to the other news that broke on Friday. Adam Cole has an hour-long meeting with Vince McMahon at SmackDown, and apparently Adam Cole gets offered a $1 million contract.
Now,
over 30 and a midget.
Now,
and we're gonna keep him.
The report and like these
is a
quotes
report,
are
it's
coming
not-
from Meltzer, so
He's a fiction writer.
We'll leave that what it is. But he said
Thanks,
there are
Jeff.
exceptions to the rule of not using smaller wrestlers, which includes a guy like Adam Cole, and they want him on the main roster. So I think what this part of the report is that the focus of NXT, because we might as well jump all of the,
It's all the same. It's all it's
like
like everything.
the
is
overhaul, the reported overhaul of what's happening with NXT is they are changing the look, the feel of the brand entirely, and going back to kind of what NXT was supposed to be from the beginning, and that's a developmental brand for potential future main roster stars, because that's something that I do think that NXT has lost a bit of what NXT was. Like, if you go back 5 years ago, I understand they were bringing in guys like Kevin Owens and Adam Cole's and things like that, but I did feel like there was a degree of in-house development as well. I think, especially once AEW came came into the landscape, I think they lost that because it went from show on the network to show on TV, competing with a Wednesday night show. Then we've debated before about, did they lose? What was the reason they switched? Whatever. Anybody can have their opinion about what happened there. But now from the reports is that, like, Vince is looking at this and WWE is looking at this as we lost, we failed, so now we're changing everything. It feels like this is almost like this is a brand that we don't care about as a third show anymore.
Correct.
This is a brand to make the two shows that we have better.
Do you want to know how else you could tell that WWE stopped really caring about NXT? NXT, the last 2 weeks, which I think was last week and the week before, were taped and airing on a different network.
I think
WWE never mentioned on television on Raw that NXT is on Sci-Fi.
I don't know about last week before the second week, but 2 weeks ago they did. 2 weeks ago there was a promo because I remember seeing it, because then it was a
commercial.
It was a commercial.
That's not the same. Other times they would have said, like, during the broadcast, that NXT's on Sci-Fi next week.
But if you don't think it's kind of the same thing, like, as they're going to break or as they're coming back from break? And I'm trying to remember if they did throw a graphic up or mention. I don't know for sure.
Nick's got a great point. It's the Olympics. And yes, I know it's the Olympics, but it's also, it's not like NXT was going to be on Fox. That's not an NBC Universal brand. If anything, it's synergy. You're telling somebody, hey, if you don't want to watch the Olympics and you want to keep watching NXT, go to Sci-Fi, which is also us.
Would it be different if they would have aired live on Sci-Fi?
Maybe.
Right. Like, I don't think the moving of networks is a signal that they care less about I think it's more the 2 weeks of tape show.
It's not that they moved. It's that they moved and didn't say anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what it is. Raw was preempted for years by the Westminster Kennel Club dog show.
Right.
We got Raw Super Tuesday Raws and Thursday Raw Thursday, and
I haven't watched an NXT show live in a few weeks. I normally do trivia Tuesday nights, but if I came home and popped on USA and saw water polo, I would have just thought they're preempted.
Right.
I really wouldn't have given any other thought to, well, let's turn on the Alien Network and see if I can find wrestling there. I wouldn't have even thought about it. I heard about it, but
yeah, wrestling fans have tried really hard to forget about the times that wrestling was on Sci-Fi.
Amen.
Yeah. Let's see. Nick says very simple. They're totally making an NXT back developmental brand like OVW back in the day. The indie scene about to be booming again, for sure. I mean, with just the sheer number of names that are out there, and we'll touch on.
You know what? I don't think that's a bad idea. Let the indies be the indies.
Right.
Let them do it. Absolutely. Let a upper tier like a GCW bring in high flippy do talent. Let Pro Wrestling Guerrilla feature these super indie style wrestlers. Let even local or IW what the hell is it called? IWTV.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let that cultivate the scene. And when you're ready, go grab a few. I think the WWE's in this bucket because they probably became a little greedy when they heard AEW was about to happen and took too much. It's kind of like going up to the buffet line. Take what you want,
Right.
but use what you take.
The three of us have been there.
We all understand the buffet
We
rule.
understand.
Right.
Oh, I shouldn't have grabbed 3 scoops of General Tso's chicken. Probably should have only done 2 on this fourth trip.
Correct.
And I'd rebut what Nick said for just like a small smidge. That he said the indie scene is about to be booming. The indie scene is.
I feel like the indie scene's
booming.
as hot as it's been in a long time.
It's just not being talked about as much because now there's the televised competition.
Right. There's
We've got WWE versus AEW.
Right. There's an alternate toy to play with.
So they're fighting. Meanwhile, before we went live, Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta went an hour-long draw for IWTV 100 for the Independent Wrestling World Championship, a title that was christened today by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. That, along with the Pan-African Diaspora Championship, the title that's held by Trish Adora right now. Both of those titles are now considered world championships.
That happened
huge.
quicker than TNA Impact was christened a world championship.
Right.
Let's see. I'm trying to catch up on some of the comments here. Cousin Brian says, my big beef WWE and NXT is they sign indie talent, repackage them so they aren't who they were. That made them desirable in the first place. AEW takes wrestlers as they are, makes debuts easier, and continuity with gimmicks. Wrestling is about characters way more than wrestling ability.
We're talking a lot about wrestling and not a lot about sports entertainment and making money, which is what the WWE does.
Right.
You can look at the news that's breaking with Chelsea Green. You sign a contract giving over your likeness as in a wrestling ring as Chelsea Green and wonder why you have to fight for your... The WWE has now made action figures of Chelsea Green. They're going to want their money out of it.
Studios.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it sucks. It's your name.
Right.
Right. And, it's...
And that's...
But there's an action figure of you now.
Right.
That's a WWE product, dude.
And that's... And changing a wrestler's name is nothing that WWE hasn't done forever either. We're just more consciously aware of it because of internet developmental brand. We're more aware of the indies, all of the, like, at least for me, like, I'm not speaking for everybody, but like I've only been in the indie world for 6 years, like, so it's not, I don't have a long history, but it's changing names is something that WWE has always done. So,
I'm assuming when the E bought WCW, they bought all the rights to all of the. I mean, the AEW aspect of this is rather unprecedented. I mean, really, in this, I mean, this day and age, really, it is.
Mm-hmm.
The Indies. I get what he's saying.
Let's see, Nick. Also, yeah, you have ROH, Impact, MLW. You're right. But the biggest competition, the one that's getting the most talked about, despite the fact that Impact has a deal with AEW, nobody, like, it's WWE, it's AEW, and then it's kind of everybody else.
I think that's a great comparison because I pulled up, and this is what I was doing before we went on air. All of the 2021 releases and specifically the April, I'm sorry, all the 2020 releases and specifically April 2021. Of the April 2021 release, which was a pretty big release, Samoa Joe, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, Wesley Blake, Kalisto, Bo Dallas, Mojo Rawley, none of them are in AEW. And they are all well past their 90-day clause. Not one of them are all elite.
Right.
Last year, out of the whole group of everybody.
Read those names again.
Samoa Joe, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, Kalisto, Wesley Blake, Bo Dallas, Mojo Rawley.
I don't want to say I would assume, but I think that it is only a matter of time before Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are in AEW. Chelsea Green is, I mean, she's kind of landing everywhere, but it seems like most likely like permanent spot is Impact, which right now, same difference as AEW. Mickey James is doing the stuff with NWA, but we know they have a working agreement, at least in part, with AEW. But the rest of those, like I think Bo Dallas is like a farmer now.
Among
Tucker,
other things.
Among other things.
What are the other things?
God
We don't
bless.
want to know.
Group chat me that. I'm curious.
But out of the rest of those names, there's not anybody that I would say this is somebody that AEW would want.
Okay.
Like, you know, but I mean, I'm not trying to
I mean, there's not many other names you name. I mean, Samoa Joe resigned.
Right.
Kalisto does the flippy doos. Wesley Blake, did he land in Impact?
I don't think he's.
I know he just had a promo package. He just changed his name again. It was a really cool looking promo, but unfortunately, I don't remember what the hell it was.
Mojo Rawley.
But yeah, and like Nick says here, and this is something that I've been saying for a little while now is, you know, AEW is going to have decisions to make. Now they may not quote unquote fire or release people, but we already saw one instance, and that was Awesome Kong when her initial deal expired. They just didn't renew it, and we're coming up on year 3 with AEW, so there may be a large number because. And again, I don't know if the list was accurate. I could have done my homework, but I'm fat and lazy. I don't know what to tell you. Somebody on Thursday had tweeted that there's 84 men and 26 women that are all elite, that are under an AEW deal. Like, and there are a good number of those that were day one or early AEW signings. And how many of them are going to be retained? Are they going to go to WWE? Are they going to go to Impact? Like the next 6 months or so, I think is going to be really not to stray from like the original point while we're here, but like I think the next 6 months could be very, very interesting in the wrestling landscape to see who doesn't get re-signed in AEW and where they end up. Or
that list is huge.
It is.
It's a huge list. I mean, again, there is Ring of Honor. Like EC3 is a great example. Ring of Honor makes sense, I suppose. It's not an AEW. Zack Ryder, Impact Wrestling. Kurt Hawkins, Impact. So a lot. I think everybody thinks you leave the WWE, you go to AEW, and I just don't think that's the case.
Janela and Sonny Kiss actually gone from, or Charlie, I think, might be saying that he thinks they won't be re-signed.
Okay, I got the list from GameSpot of everyone who's signed, of the men and women.
Okay.
And I'm scrolling through just from the top. And this is the point that I made last week too. Yes, the 3-year contracts are coming up. But who honestly that doesn't re-sign is going to be on par with the opposite side of the coin? WWE lets go of Miro, and they lose Christian, and they lose Mark Henry, and they lose The Big Show, and they lose Aleister Black, and they lose Jeff Parker and Matt Lee, the 3.0, the 2.0 now, the Everrise boys. And they lose Daniel Bryan, who may or may not be going to AEW. And you have all that stuff. So who, and Andrade, great point.
But those weren't releases, were they? Most of them, their contracts ran out.
Andrade was
asked for his release. He wasn't just cut.
But 2.0 was cut. Miro was cut.
But your Christian was a one-off.
Christian had just wrestled at the Royal Rumble.
Right, as I think a one-off.
Right, for a one-off, and
they were according to Christian, there was talks about what he was going to do.
right, but I think
he was in negotiation.
I mean, let's see if Nick Gage in a month wrestles with AEW then, or is that just a one-off as well? Juventud Guerrero's not all elite.
Correct. I'm not counting those guys.
Right. No, I'm just saying I think that's what the Christian one
that's
was.
what Christian was. And I'm not
Christian's a WWE guy. Like when
and
you look at it,
AEW is only 3 years old. You can't have old AEW guys other than Sting.
Exactly.
And like this isn't a slight on like Mark Henry and the Big Show either, but like I think WWE has people in the roles that they wanted to be in. And if WWE wasn't going to give them more responsibility, now we may look a few years down the road and there may be huge stars that go from WWE to AEW and become even bigger on AEW and say the reason I wanted to go to AEW is because Mark Henry was teaching over there or Paul White was over there giving his knowledge. So like, I mean, and there is that possibility, and you can say, well, WWE was short-sighted in letting them go, but like how many legends can you have in the locker room as leaders, scouts, whatever, you know what I mean? Like if you like, I just, and it's not like I said, it could be short-sighted, but
right.
Maybe like those, that's why those two guys were allowed to be let go.
Too many people watching matches and being producers on matches is probably going to be a problem. Maybe. You're going to want one, maybe two persons to produce a match if it's multiple. I mean, I don't think you want a ton of people with your hand in the pot.
But AEW's got 4 TV programs.
Actual TV programs, my guy?
I mean, programs that have wrestling on them.
And programs that count to the quote unquote wins and losses matter list, quote unquote.
That's fair. I'll take that. That's
you know
fair.
what I mean? Like,
but like to finish my thought though, like you have everybody coming over from WWE to AEW. But how many of those people from the 3-year contracts will leave and be impact players or even like make a blip?
No, I agree.
Aside from the indies.
I agree.
Janela's going to leave. I think Janela's all but gone with AEW. And he goes back to the indies and he goes to GCW and he becomes a super huge, massive thing in GCW. And that's it.
Agree. Yeah. I will definitely agree with you there. Like I don't see anybody not renewed by AEW. That's a Miro. That's an Andrade. That's an Aleister Black. I will certainly agree with you there.
But like also
they're more on the lines of
not even
Tucker.
Not even that. Like again,
always shitting on Tucker.
If you make the comparison to like WWE and WCW, like these Miros and all these other names of people leaving is the equivalent of WWE cutting all of their guys from like 94, 95, 96.
Sure.
Where you lose your Hogans and you lose your Duggins and you lose your John Tentas and you lose all those guys, but then you lose your young guys. You lose your Hall, you lose your Nash, you lose your 1, 2, 3 kid. And then WCW puts the boots to you until you get a Mick Foley who cashes in. You get a Stone Cold Steve Austin that cashes in. You get a Triple H that cashes in. And then you also get the young guys that the other guys didn't want. When you get Malenko, like the big exodus of players from WCW all in this, like, there's a specific date where WCW loses like 13 wrestlers. And it's like Raven leaves and Benoit, Malenko, and Guerrero and Jericho. And they all go in to go and like ask for their release together.
Right.
Who from AEW is a top enough prospect that if they leave and go somewhere, there's thoughts that in 2 to 3 years, they become something that replaces what WWE loses.
It's a great way to look at it.
Right.
Jungle Jack Perry.
Although
he's too little.
criteria, Ain't
Ain't nobody over 6 feet tall, and ain't nobody
Wardlow
over 30.
maybe be the only one that fits that.
Who?
How old's Wardlow?
Wardlow's young.
He might be the only person that fits the new NXT criteria.
Anthony Ogogo, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, he's young. Maybe. So yeah,
I mean, what has he really done in AEW though to outsplash if he moves to the E?
Say only one
Wardlow is
MJF.
33.
Yeah, MJF.
Wardlow's 33.
Wardlow's 33.
Sorry, he's out.
How old's the Hungman?
You know what's crazy?
He might not be tall enough.
He's 6 foot and he's 30 years old.
That's too short. They just let go of August. They let go of August Gray, Anthony Green. He's 6'2". He's 27 years old. I don't understand what they did. Like, they're under 30, not short bullshit. It doesn't make sense. 6'2" is not short. 6'2" is not tall.
And like, I don't believe.
But 6'2" ain't short.
Looking at who NXT kept or who they've kept so far. Roderick Strong, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano.
Nick and Devin, I saw your comment about who's next. I don't even want to touch that because to me that's kind of in bad taste. And honestly, with the way the WWE is going, literally anybody on the roster that isn't John Cena or Roman Reigns.
Here you go. I got the one you can guys start putting on watch.
Uh-oh.
Here you go. Where's Randy Orton?
Oh,
Randy Orton been off TV a long time.
Do you think that's a silent personal conduct wellness policy?
I think it's a vacation.
Yeah, it's just he's tired. I mean,
he's been wrestling at
he
he's
did
been
work
wrestling
a
at
lot.
the Thunderdome. He probably
Right,
lives
it's
in
okay,
Florida.
Devin.
He
You know,
probably just.
I think it was a fair question. It was a fair question given the nature of the show, but I don't really want to touch that. But yeah, Nick here said, what happens to Ciampa, Thatcher, Gargano, O'Reilly, Strong, Knight, Grimes, etc. So like the guys who are above 30, there still has to be at least, for the next couple of months, maybe, or weeks, depending how the way things go, there still has to be some connection from. If we're gonna look at like the WWE back in the 90s, like old generation to new generation, like they didn't clear everybody out; they just cleared most of the cupboard out. So,
Right.
So like, there's certain guys that they will retain that the Ciampas and stuff like that. That there is still a connection for fans, but this is just a change in philosophy and how the brand is being put together.
No, I had read somewhere that they were looking to take it back to obviously an older style of NXT.
Charlie. Believe it for 10 years when AEW. Okay.
Yeah, and Bret Hart also signed like a 20-year deal.
Right. Lifetime deal, pretty much.
And then the movie Wrestling with Shadows happened.
Thanks, Brett.
Does Randy have a documentary team? One other comment here, Nick did say
he's got a shirt brand.
Go back to Ruthless Aggression 02 to 05. Batista, Cena, Orton. That was the last time they really had a franchise player before Rollins and Reigns. Yeah, there was kind of a gap there.
But also too, like that
time is when I wasn't watching, so I can't speak to a lot of that era.
That time period is still kind of weird because you're still in the era of like failed athletes, big body guys, not wrestling fans getting into wrestling. Like, I'm sure I know Cena's got the lifelong story about the paper championship belts and everything, but I'm pretty sure when he was in college in West Newbury doing PE, like, and being a muscle, doing bodybuilding, he was like, you know what? I'm going to use all this and I'm going to go to the WWE. And like Batista's like, yeah, I mean, I was a break dancer and I did a whole bunch of other stuff too. And then, yeah, I'm going to use all that, but I want to be with Ric Flair when I get older. Like, you also got to remember when Batista started, probably
Here's the
started
Deacon gimmick.
He started at about the same age as LA Knight right now. When Batista was in Evolution, he was the second oldest member of Evolution. He was older than Triple H when he
Evolution
joined Evolution.
Is a mystery.
Yeah, and Batista was the future. Older than Triple H. And Randy Orton has gone on record as to say, I'm not a wrestling fan. The only reason he got into wrestling is because the military wasn't for him, and he just went to his dad and was like, "Hey, you think I could do this wrestling thing?"
Yeah, like it wasn't.
That turned out okay.
And that's
It worked out.
that's on the WWE network. That interview is on the network. It is the Broken Skull sessions with Steve Austin.
Right. So
Yeah, it's there, and it's like the first 10 minutes of the podcast.
Do you think Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, whoever's making these choices are looking at NXT and seeing these, quote, small guys over 30, whatever, if you want to believe the rumors, and he wants to take it back to like an NXT of old? Are we talking NXT Arrival old? Network NXT, when you have folks like the large Bo Dallas as your champion? I'm not quite sure like what generation of NXT. I always feel like NXT was always kind of smaller guys. Seth Rollins was never a big guy. I mean, the Arrival card, they're not huge fellas.
no.
I think what
Neville wasn't a big boy.
Yeah. I think we go back to like you're talking about like I would say the beginning of the takeover era. Like 2014 until I would say until we get to NXT Brooklyn 4 2008, maybe before that, maybe like I'm gonna hate saying this because I know you're. Can we have a truce that if I say this word, you don't hit the button?
I want to hear it. The rules are the rules, Jim. No truce. What is this shit? I will quit this fucking show right now.
We don't have 2 hours to fill for you guys to hit.
We don't. Yeah,
95 times.
What if I say it?
Ryan, can we just be nice? It's been a rough weekend. Can we be nice to Tim for tonight?
It might have ended at War Games.
Well, I'll play it on Thursday. I promise. I'll play it. I'll leave a note for myself to play it randomly.
Not even the long one.
I know.
And you could have said it backwards and been safe.
Ryan, I'll play it randomly on Thursday as a make good for tonight. How about
and
that?
I'll keep my headphones in.
There we go. Yeah.
Bullshit. This is what gets me fired up.
I mean, I'm not even talking about Shane McMahon. Like,
can I do that one?
Can you use a short one?
I'll do this.
Here comes the money's fine.
Yeah.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
It's Matt's favorite song.
Yeah. If he had stuck around and didn't go to China eventually, and he wanted to have more of a play in WCW or in WWE, maybe Khan wouldn't have showed up.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Mayhaps. Perhaps.
So it's
I don't know.
Shane's fault.
There are a lot of wrestlers released in these past 2 years that are further advanced in their careers, I feel, than if they did stick around with the WWE. And I'm not trying to silver lining this, so don't take it as I'm trying to spin it pro anything other than like it's a shitty deal that you're getting released. But I feel like you look at somebody, even a Zack Ryder. I don't know if he's making as much money, perhaps, but I feel like Zack Ryder today, Matt Cardona, is higher elevated on the wrestling scene than Zack Ryder was.
Well, he's been saying, and now whether or not this is revisionist history or this is how it really went down, but he was offered an extension, but he hadn't signed. Like he was debating just letting his contract run out and not re-signing with the WWE because he wasn't being used, he wasn't being utilized, and he wanted to do more. And then they released him, and you know,
correct, which gives you that 90-day no compete.
Sure.
Right. So if he just ran out, then you can show up the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Like WWE is good at business. No one will think whoever will take that away from them.
Yeah,
No.
but then Aleister Black got out of there with a 30-day one because they're so good at business.
Whoopsie diddles.
Yeah.
Whoopsies.
I think somebody like Ty Conti's having a better career than she did.
And
When
here's
was the last time she was on TV though?
Diana Perazzo in
Like, I'm
Impact
not,
is
like-
having a better career.
I like Ty Conti, but like it felt like she had that little bit of a push, and I get that those things ebbs and flow. But like she had a little bit of a push, she lost the title match, and she like literally hasn't been seen on anything but YouTube for 2 months.
That's because AEW doesn't know how to do anything with more than like 2 women at a time.
Who is the women's champion? Britt Baker?
Baker,
No.
yeah.
Is it Baker?
DMD.
It is DMT. I'm shocked that she
Okay.
didn't lose to
And the number 1 contender is
Red Velvet has a match next Friday.
Yeah,
on,
that's right.
or this Friday on Rampage.
Yes, that's this
Number
Friday.
number
Holy
number
ish.
4 in the rankings and number 1 in the contendership.
Somebody needs a
Hey,
but they're in
Rampage, the
they're in
TBS show?
Pittsburgh. That's
and
their
Nick, we touched
Pittsburgh.
on that. We did touch on that earlier. I mean,
Nick, don't sign the contract then.
sign
Don't
a
sign over the
contract
rights.
that has her real name on it. So
Simple enough.
you know, not trying to be cold-hearted, but you know, don't sign over your name.
To go back to something else we were
It
talking
sucks when
about,
somebody steals your art, doesn't it?
though. I know, right?
Oh yes.
To go back to something else we talked about just now, with how much money Zack Ryder is making now without being in WWE. You also have to think now the wrestlers who are in their primes are like my age, your age,
Yeah.
where our parents and the guys from like the 80s and the 90s work hard, make 100% of the profits, like grind and make as much money as you can. Now, we may not be fighting dollar for dollar, but we'll fight for like 75 cents of that dollar.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to be able to do outside interests.
Yeah, that's fair.
We want the flexibility to be able to do stuff when we want to do it. And that's where Broski's at right now. Broski
He has
has the ability.
podcasts and
He's got the podcast.
figures.
He's got the PBR deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
he said on he was on Renee Young's podcast last week and was saying that like he was pitching the podcast and like the figure stuff to the WWE before they released him, and he's like thankful as hell that they didn't bite on it because he'd be out of those venues if they did. And yes, Nick, I get that they're feeding Red Velvet to Britt, so it's an easy win in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I'm just
God, do I love red velvet cake.
It's once again an indictment of the wins-loss ranking system that the AEW has. It's stupid, but that's.
Have you tried the red velvet cheesecake at the Night and Day Diner?
I don't like red velvet cake. I don't like cheesecake.
I haven't been to the Night and Day Diner since pre-COVID, so no, I'm going to say no.
You let me know when you're ready, Jim. I want an omelet real bad.
At this point, 2027.
That's fair.
At least that place anyway.
But I just, and that's why AEW is like that last point. That's why I think AEW is more, and like being on the indies is more profitable because you're able
we have it
to
on record.
do-
Nick agreed with me. How about it?
Everybody
Hell,
screenshot that.
Ding.
frozen over.
Being able to have outside ventures
Yes.
is like, it's a big deal. And it all kind of boils back to when WWE put their foot down on the Twitch stuff and they put their foot down on the Cameo stuff.
Unless they can make a cut of it.
Right. Meanwhile, since that time, Pro Wrestling Tees has created their own form of Cameo where wrestlers can sign up and people can buy shout outs from wrestlers and wrestlers get to choose to be on there. Like you take away a money-making opportunity from someone and you don't give them that opportunity somewhere else. Like most of the time, it's not even the money. Most of the time they want to do it to be creative outside of wrestling.
Mhm.
Like there is a part of their brain that like all I do is wrestle in a 20 by 20 ring. I eat good, I go work out, and that's it. There's another side of their brain that is dying for stimulation. That's why I work in the tech industry. Ryan is an importer, exporter. You're getting back into the job force. And yet every week we come here and we sit and we do this because we feed our little feeble little rodent brains with try to fill both sides of the equation.
Right.
I'm sorry. I said you had a rodent brain.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's okay. But yeah, it's and you know it is definitely an unfortunate business practice of the WWE to have squashed all of those ventures unless they can make something off of it, like up, down, down.
Let's talk
Like
about
they
those
have that kind of-
ventures and how bad I feel for Zelina Vega, who just re-signed only for hubby to be booted off
And then she gets punished on
and loses
television.
every single week.
Keith Lee's the same boat. Keith Lee been punished. He came back, gets squashed by Bobby Lashley, gets squashed by Karrion Kross. He gets the win back on Raw.
I mean, how the Bobby Lashley like he shouldn't have beaten Bobby Lashley, right? Like now I can see the argument, don't put him in that spot, but like if he's in that spot,
I'd rather you defend Zelina Vega.
Because
that one you're going to have to hurt yourself.
There's I
stretching to make that work.
I haven't warmed up enough to make that stretch.
I mean, it's two sides of the same. I mean,
And
Keith Lee.
Here's another time I'm gonna agree with Nick. She chose to return.
Yeah, she did.
Like
she sure did.
It's and that has been. It's not a defense of the company. It's not, but like. It's something I have said for what, like, if you don't want it, don't sign the the Mindless Musings guys. I was listening to their show from this week because the news came out last week that Peyton Royce had kind of pitched the potential idea of the Iconics splitting up to get her as a single superstar, and then Vince did it, and then it all broke down and they got released. And Rob on Mindless Musings said, here's a business tip. Don't pitch something to your boss if you don't want it to possibly happen. So like in the same time, it's like, don't agree to take a deal until you've really kind of thought all aspects. Now I understand, like at the time she signed to be back on, like Alistair was in the process of being put back on WWE TV. So it is unfortunate.
Did you see the reports of his release? Like he took the phone call at the gym.
No.
He Black Malachi Mariachi Black was at the gym with I guess him and Zelina, and his phone rang and he's like, Johnny Ace, oh no. And then like he picked it up and then Johnny was like, hey kid, I think he said this exact words were like, I have a list and your name's on it. I don't understand it. You're coming back to TV, but sorry.
So even Johnny Ace was like, I don't understand this guy.
I feel like Johnny Ace is chicken shit, and that's exactly what Johnny Ace would say.
Oh, Johnny Ace, Johnny Ace is a fucking corporate dude.
Your legs are huge. It's a real
You've
shame.
You've been working out great.
It's a shame what they're doing to you.
Got some oil on them, kid. They look good.
I know you just bought that mask with the horns on it. It's a real shame you're never going to be able to wear it on television. See you later.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that real quick.
I got to call somebody else.
Cousin Brian heading out. He has to iron his work underpants before he goes to bed. Good night, Brian. Yeah, Brian also brought up a good point. If he hangs on here for a minute, like just all over the place tonight, and it's cool. Leo Rush retiring. I think it's like 3 times now. So he's ready to wrestle again. But I think these matches that he's like cleared for are the dates that he had signed on for that he couldn't wrestle because he was hurt. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he continues to work beyond those. But But yeah, I think the dates that he is wrestling are his previous commitments that he did say he was going to work towards.
And if he wrestles, he wrestles. Good
Yeah.
for him.
I mean, what was Jeff Jarrett on Jeff Jarrett's podcast. It was a Ask Jarrett Anything, and they asked him something about if he had wrestled his last match.
Oh, I think the question was.
Here, Brian. They are. I actually have that soundbite.
Fickle.
They asked if Jeff Jarrett was ever going to get back into the wrestling promotion game.
Oh, yes.
Where he was like, is there any, with AEW and everybody building up, is there thoughts of Jeff maybe starting up a TNA 2? And Jeff and Conrad just kind of laughed together. and then Connie goes, next question.
Yeah. But Jarrett said, as part of that, he said that he's not wrestled his last match. And he talked about how like guys that, see you, Brian, the guys that retire in their 30s, he kind of chuckles at because, nobody ever retires in the wrestling business, much less at 30 years old.
See, I always heard it like this. Wrestlers don't retire. They quit.
Okay, yeah.
There's no retirement plan.
Right.
There's no retirement package.
Right. There's not a 401k in pro wrestling.
You just agree to stop throwing your body on the ground like an idiot.
Right. And some may do it at 28.
Right.
Some may do it till they're 55. Some may do it even on the indies into their 60s or more. So like
Red Scorpion. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be bumping until
he's
gonna be raking backs until he's like 77.
Break my back. Yeah, now he didn't literally rake it.
Yeah, Bobby Eaton. Was
Man,
number.
You gotta bring up Bobby Eaton again.
Gary
man.
Lawler had to legit died in Montreal. He still wrestles on the indies. Like he don't need to wrestle, but he does
wrestle. Is to try to steer the ship back to where we I think started. Is this a straw that will break a back for you as a WWE /NXT viewer? Is it accumulation of these releases that you're like, I struggle supporting this company right now? I'm not saying you can't ever go back, but are you today looking for a different, maybe you'll watch Wednesday a little more intently. Maybe you'll tune into Impact. Maybe you'll subscribe to IWTV or grab a GCW pay-per-view. Is this enough to make you swear off of the WWE for now?
So if I didn't have 3 Count Thursday, if I didn't have Viewer's Choice, I'd probably just like closely, like I would read the dirt sheets and read reviews of like what happens on Raw and SmackDown and NXT. But I wouldn't go out of my way to like watch it. Like I mean, I'll be honest. I try to watch Raw every week. I come into my office and like I do multiple things at the same time. I come into this room. I have 2 monitors. On the monitor directly in front of me, I'm usually playing a game. On the monitor to my left, with my headphones in, I'm watching and listening to Raw. And there's times where I can't, even with split attention, I can't. And that's just the live in-ring product. Then you add together the questionable business practices and decision making over the last like 3 to 4 years. You talk about the Saudi deal. You talk about the possible like hostage situation that happened in Saudi. The cuts. You hear about all these other stories. and you see your favorites come and go, and now you're getting to the point where you're afraid to root for someone because they're literally cutting people who make their returns 2 weeks before, that are champions a month before. Like, at this juncture, like, it's almost like a vote of no confidence. And I hate to say it. Like, I love the WWE. It's like, I've loved it for so long. And it's like, now I'm leaning to AEW. I'm leaning to the independents. And I want to see WWE get handed to them. If for any other reason than for Vince McMahon to fight from the underneath.
That's fair.
And like, and hopefully there's some sort of resurgence, but like Nick Khan is wielding so much power right now that it feels like everything is just pointing towards a sale of the company.
Yeah, I said that on Friday. I tweeted that on Friday, that the prospect of WWE being for sale or imminently being sold feels more real now than ever over the last,
especially before Vince McMahon passes away.
Yeah,
Vince wants generational wealth. He wants to leave enough for his family behind that they don't have to worry. And his greatest asset is the WWE.
Yeah,
100%. He can make billions.
Yeah.
Off of the WWE.
Absolutely.
What did the UFC sell for years ago? That was in the billions, I'm fairly certain.
$4 billion in 2016.
So go 5 years down the road with the, extensive library that it's insane amounts of money.
Yeah.
What did they sign the network over for? $1 billion?
Yeah, the Peacock deal was a billion.
You can easily say
it's
the WWE is I would say it's more lucrative than UFC, but it's less lucrative than a sports team. Like, I bet you when WWE gets sold, I would say it's multiple billions.
Oh, it's multiple billions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I don't think it's like 3-digit billions.
Is it more lucrative than some sport teams?
Not in the three majors. Not in NBA, NFL, or MLB.
It might be worth more than some Major League Baseball teams.
Probably not.
I'm trying
to own a team.
Oakland Athletics. I'm trying to think.
Is the lowest?
Right, lowest. But to your, while
value.
Tim's looking that up, Ryan, to your question.
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Let me rephrase it. Okay, go ahead, Tim. But I want to rephrase it a little bit differently to you.
Okay, fair.
So the Miami Marlins have a value of $900 million.
The answer is yes.
The Yankees are $5.25 billion.
But again, I think in a single team, because it's obviously a different, WWE would be kind of more in the line of what's Disney or ABC Disney Universal's value, or NBC Universal's value.
Fair.
So because WWE, it's more than it's an entertainment. It's an entertainment business conglomerate. So
right, they get all the Marine movies.
Right, exactly. All of them. They
Santa's Little Helper.
They have music, they have movies, they have, they there's a lot more to WWE than just wrestling. So it's not their value compared to a baseball team.
They diversify.
I would say at least. So if UFC in 2016 was $4 billion, I would say WWE in 2021 is probably at least 4 times that. 16, 20 in the 20s.
I would
least.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Maybe
say
more.
I would say a healthy number would probably be like 12 billion.
Okay. So let's say between 12, somewhere between 10 and 30.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in there. Because we don't know the entertainment.
And even if they like part and parceled it out and they sold the content, if they sold the historical content,
Why?
It's hard enough for me to find shit on the WWE network on Peacock. Please don't make me have to go to multiple apps.
it'll go to the AEW network.
Oh,
God.
At least
now-
it's not on Impact Plus.
to your Ryan, ask
You
reword your question for
you
me.
can answer it, I guess, the way that I asked it. But like, think in your mind. Have you just answer it the way I asked it? I guess.
Okay, my viewership has changed. Like in over the last month, the TV show, the wrestling show that I have watched live the most is AEW Dynamite. The second most would be Raw. I don't remember the last time I watched NXT live. SmackDown, it depends if I'm home on a Friday. But like I have Hulu Plus. Like it's too easy if I miss a show to watch the cut down version of Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. And like even at times when I do those, I may fast forward through the match, especially on Raw, because I just saw the match a week ago.
That's
So like my viewership has changed. Are these cuts, the releases, and all of this is the straw that breaks? No. But like this is the way I look at it too. Like I own an iPhone, I own an iPad, I own an Apple Watch, like I own Nike football jerseys. Like if I really start going down the morality road with things that I give my money to,
that's fair.
like where do you draw that line? Do you draw it at this entertainment company that cuts guys' contracts? Do you do it with questionable business deals from the company you buy your phone from? I mean, like I call out there's guys in sports media that like you call out the NBA's business ties with China and he's tweeting from an iPhone. Like you're a fucking hypocrite, man.
Yep.
Like if you have problems with people doing business in China and you're tweeting from an iPhone, you're just as guilty. Like because like that, and that might even be worse. I don't know. So like if I start going down that road, it's a hard place to draw the line. And I know that sounds lazy. And I know that sounds like a cop out. But like
so you're saying your viewing has changed.
My viewing
but we
has
can
changed.
talk your viewing changes up to booking more than anything.
Yeah, and like I will always at least attempt to now, like if there's things out of my control, but 98% of the time I will be watching WWE and NXT pay-per-views live on Peacock.
Okay.
When they happen. That hasn't changed. Like I'm obviously because of the show. If we didn't do the show, that I don't know, because we've been doing this show for 7+ years.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that looks like if I'm not doing this podcast. I don't want to find out. I don't think this show for me is not going anywhere. So but it's different. Like am I maybe I'll put it this way. Like I love wrestling as much as I ever have. I don't know if currently I love the WWE as much as I as at my peak.
Okay.
Like we said on Thursday, I don't know the last time I bought something on the WWE shop. There used to be points where I would make multiple purchases a month on there. And again, I'm unemployed. So like it, that has changed a little bit, but like I would rather spend $35 on a golf course than on a couple of clearance t-shirts right now.
Sure.
How about you, Ryan? Where are you at?
Yeah, I said this jokingly, but I don't do change very well. I think you made a great point, Jim. I love professional wrestling. I love the professional wrestling business. I'm waiting for my like local independent to pick up and start running again, because I love doing commentary. I love being on shows. I love being. I do really love the business, but I think you're right. I don't think I love the WWE as much as I used to. And maybe that's not the releases. Maybe that's not the total reason, but booking. I don't love, it's what Tim said. Like, you get behind a guy and poof, he's gone.
The Fiend one from that aspect hurt me the most.
Correct. This is about really. I mean, this is the Fiend. My mind is there. Like that seems crazy. Rusev was cool. Like Rusev. I mean, again, doing better things. Aleister Black, loved the character, doing better things. Hopefully in AEW. The Fiend one's tough. It's tough when you see, like I said, I love the independents. I love seeing people be successful. As much as I love seeing somebody get signed and be successful, I hate seeing that person get cut and released and altered their life. So I don't know. It's a tough spot to be in. It really is. It's not a great time right now to be a WWE only fan. Especially when they're like we said, there's so many other options out there to watch and support professional wrestling.
Yeah.
That and again, I feel like I do it in the summer naturally. I watch less wrestling. I make sure I catch the pay-per-views. It's the summertime. I'm a beach guy. If I can get out of here on a Thursday night, I'll catch an extra Friday at the beach. I'm going to always miss SmackDown. Monday night, I'll catch a little bit of Raw. I do trivia on Tuesday, so I miss NXT.
Sure.
Wednesdays are usually free, so I can catch AEW, and that's just how my week happens to fall right now. Really into the whole trivia thing. We got a great team going. Last week was the Kenny G spot. Great name. But we're trying to keep it musical. Is what we're trying to do. Keep it funny and musical. Not Kenny G.
Not Kenny G, but
not Kenny G. Saxophone, nevertheless. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like, God damn it. Releases aside, I feel like we always have this conversation in August. Like, the dog days of August, the WWE programming fucking sucks. We got to get to Survivor or SummerSlam, where then it's just shitty until the build to WrestleMania. Yeah. So here we are every year.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part about leaving WWE right now is the nostalgia factor that all of wrestling history until, like, for the most part, our formative years of wrestling is under the lock and key of the WWE.
Yep.
They own WCW. They own the WCW library. They own the ECW library. They've got the AWA library. They've got a couple of indies. They've got, like, the only big one they don't have is like Memphis.
Yeah.
And when they get Memphis, can't wait.
Yeah, I mean the network.
No, I don't want them to have it. Why am I saying I can't wait for them to have it? No,
but it's that easy because it's all right there. That's the beauty.
Because it's all right there. It should be that easy, right?
Right.
Tim, I think you're right. I think you have to look at the great lyricist Macy Gray when she says, "I try to say goodbye and I choke. I try to walk away and I stumble. Though I try to hide it, it's clear. My world crumbles when you are not near." And that's the relationship I have with the goddamn WWE.
Yeah, it's
always your next team name. Your next team name should be Macy Gray's Anatomy.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. That's a good one. Guys, got anything else, or do we want to close this thing up?
Let's close it up.
All right, Tim, you want to plug anything? Your shows drop tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah, shows drop tomorrow morning. New podcast host. We've switched our hosting files, so if you catch it on the mothership, finalwrestlingplace.buzzsprout.com, we actually have chapters, So if you go and watch it, listen to it live from the site, you can click on specific chapters and it'll skip you ahead. So if you don't want to hear certain parts, you don't have to. But
Don't do that. Listen to the whole thing.
yes, listen to the whole thing. But also, like, if you're bored and you just want to hear what we're going to talk about next week, there's a spot for that. But also just Not the Tool Man across all platforms. Final Wrestling Plays every week. And on all podcatchers of choice. I'm literally about to, like, the only one I'm not on right now is Pandora. And that's coming soon.
Wait, you can throw podcasts on Pandora?
Yup.
Oh, well, sounds like it's a place we have to get our podcast.
I'm there. I'm waiting on just a confirmation, but Final Wrestling Plays Viewer's Choice. Those podcasts are fun, but I just can't wait to be back here on Thursday, talk some more stuff with you guys. For those of you who came to watch us on a Sunday evening after dinner, thank you guys so much. We love you. And tell somebody else you love them. Keep that positive momentum moving forward, boys.
Love you, Tim. Ryan, you got anything?
If you're at a place and they would want you to wear masks, put the fucking mask on. Get vaccinated. How about those Phillies?
How about it?
Jim, take us home.
Devin, have a good one, man. You can follow me at Big Jim Sports, but make sure you're following along with the show. It's that easy. 3 Count Thursday, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go to 3countthursday.com. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/3 Count Thursday. Matt may be adding some Impact Wrestling content to the Patreon soon. Ernest says, fuck the Phillies. But collarandelbowbrand.com, use promo code 3count, 10% off. Whatamaneuver.net is the home for all of our merchandise. NGSC Sports is our home network, and the Leap Sports and Music Network, LEEIB Sports.com. And until Thursday night, everyone, stay safe, stay smart, and please get vaccinated, wear your mask, go for the pin.